Hi, I'm Aki, a tax accountant. In this issue, I will discuss the failure to file tax return for non-Japanese football player in J.League to understand the better decision of resident and non-resident by tax authorities. For those who do not have Japanese citizenship, how they are taxed in Japan is a great concern. In principle, it is understood that a non-resident is not required to file a tax return in Japan like a resident. However, we have to pay much attention to the determination of residency. There are cases in which a person is considered a non-resident without concrete reasons, and still the tax office needs to point it out to them. Recently, there has been a case of tax authorities challenge to this non-resident determination. As a result, a 25% higher tax rate was applied. How is the determination of residents made in addition to the principal determination? To solve these problems, I will consider the determination of non-resident and residents in this issue. This video will assist you to understand more than the principle of the resident non-resident status determination for those who do not have Japanese nationality. And secondly, understand the risk of being judged as a non-resident without complete reason. And next, you can negotiate salary in consideration of the tax burden. After watching this video, if you like more information on how you save your taxes and pay them properly, please sign up for my email newsletter in the summary section of this video. I offer a free tax reduction and optimization checklist and the other information here. First of all, for those of you who do not have Japanese citizenship, I would like you to confirm taxpayer for Japanese income tax. The reason why this is so important is because these classifications changes and the tax rate changes. As an example, let's compare a resident with a non-permanent resident and non-resident. If you receive a salary from a Japanese company, the withhold tax rate is 20.42% for a non-resident. On the other hand, for a resident as non-permanent resident, regular progressive taxation is applied. If the salary is 1.8 million yen, the withhold rate will be 20.42% for non-resident. Approximately 360,000 yen will be collected as a tax. On the other hand, if you are a non-permanent resident, what if the amount received in the case of 80 million yen? If you are a non-resident, approximately 3.6 million yen will be withheld at source. On the other hand, if you are a non-permanent resident,
the income tax is 3.6 million yen. It's almost same.
For a larger amount, 180 million yen, the withholding tax will be 36 million yen for non-resident and 75 million yen for non-permanent resident. For those who are higher earners, such as a professional athlete and entertainer, taxes tend to be lower for those who are considered non-residents. On the other hand, if your salary is not so high, the tax amount will be lower if you are judged as non-permanent resident. In this light, your classification is a significant issue for those who do not have Japanese nationality. First, there are resident and non-resident. A resident is defined as an individual who has a domicile in Japan or has held a residence in Japan for at least 1 year. Otherwise, they are classified as non-residents. For example, you are considered a non-resident if you have only been in Japan for a few months. Meanwhile, please note I'm not considering tax treaties between countries in this case. So as you know, the consideration of this tax treaty will also have a significant impact. Permanent residents are individuals without Japanese nationality who have had a domicile or a residence in Japan for more than 5 years within the past 10 years. The period you are in Japan will be essential to this taxpayer classification. Now I would like to cut to the chase. In the case of this J.League professional football player, why did the tax office point him out for determination of non-resident vs non-permanent resident status? In this case, the determination of whether or not the applicant has a domicile in Japan has an impact. This concept of domicile, which is defined in Japan's Civil Code, affects this determination. The domicile, as defined in the Japanese Civil Code, is placed where a person lives, and whether or not it is the domicile of the person is to be determined by objective facts. The address is determined based on the objective fact. Objective facts include the number of days spent in Japan, residence or address, occupation, residents of spouse or other relatives with whom one shares a livelihood, and the location of assets. Because the status of living spouses or other relatives is included here, it is often discussed when determination domicile under the income tax law. A residence is generally something that a person has had in his or her possession for a substitutional period of time. Its location and the ties are not as closely related as a domicile. It is not a place of main residence, but a place where a person stays for a long period of time. For example, if a person comes to Japan on business and stays in a hotel for 2 or 3 months, a room in the hotel is considered to be his or her place of residence. This time, the tax rate has changed from 20.42% to the maximum rate of 45% applied to the taxpayer, since the tax authorities have certified that a football player with a Japanese citizenship is a non-permanent resident, not a non-resident. As a result, they are now subject to a maximum of approximately 580 million yen in additional tax and no tax filing. The main reason for the recognition as a non-permanent resident taxpayer is that the player lived with their families while they were under 1 year's contract. As explained earlier, this is the case in which the principal living place was certified in Japan. There were not any tax abated on the player's side. When negotiating a player's salary, the taxes all should have been considered before deciding the annual salary. This way, the negotiation would have been based on the actual take-home pay. If players negotiate based on their take-home pay, the football team should effectively bear the tax burden. The football team may want to regard them as non-resident in the contracts. Specifically, teams want them to be non-resident players, so the contract period will be less than 1 year. The players need to move out of Japan, including themselves and their family members, in less than 1 year, and they repeat this process to obtain non-resident status. However, this does not seem easily to do. This is not an option I recommend, as it has been passed down until now. Tax authorities have pointed out the case. If your child transfers from one school to another after 11 months and return to the following semester without an intervening period, it would be just a trip from Japan to other countries. Also, it should be problematic from an educational standpoint to say that your child will attend their school outside of Japan for 1 semester just after tax purposes. It is safer to be classified as a non-permanent resident of Japan and to plan other measures. Although not directly related to the tax law, football team and the player desire to avoid aggressively signing short-term contracts. Short-term contracts of less than 1 year are also detrimental to negotiate between football team and want to keep good player for a long time and the player who want to play in a stable team. Even for tax purposes, signing a short-term contract negates the contractual commitment to a long-term relationship and the possibility of a player being terminated or transferred to another team with better conditions. In some cases, not much of Japan tax law are disseminated in English. I want to do it so that I can convey a proper legal system to those who need it and so that they can play an active role in Japan with peace of mind. I'll go ahead and summarize today's video. Regarding the J.League's additional tax point of view, a law is involved in determining who is a non-resident and a non-permanent resident. To understand this, we need to clear the determination of resident and non-resident. And other factors are considered in determining who is a non-resident and a non-permanent resident, not just the length of the contract. Family members. This knowledge is helpful for payroll negotiation to take taxes into account. Thank you for watching this video. Bye bye.